They told him the cabin was worthless, just a rotting pile of timber clinging to the side of the wildest peak in the territory. Men laughed when he placed a single silver dollar on the barrel at the auction. Someone called him a fool. The auctioneer sneered and slammed his gavel. Sold. Thorn did not care about the laughter. He believed he was buying silence. A place far from people, a place where memories of the war could not reach him. He was wrong. He did not buy an empty cabin that day. He bought a fate that had already been waiting for him. The year was 1874. Iron Creek was a hard town made of mud, noise, and desperation. Whiskey flowed faster than hope, and men carried more hunger than kindness. Thorn hated it the moment he rode in. For 10 years, he had drifted. No home, no roots. Just a rifle on his saddle and ghosts in his head. He wanted quiet. He wanted the wind to be the only voice left in his world. The auction took place near the general store. A sweating man in a checkered suit stood on a crate, selling land nobody wanted. When he mentioned the cabin on Holloway Ridge, the crowd went silent, then laughed. "That place is a coffin," someone muttered. No one bid. Not for 50, not for 20, not even for 10. Thorn looked toward the mountains. Jagged peaks cut the sky like broken teeth. They looked angry. They looked honest. He stepped forward and placed $1 silver on the barrel. His voice sounded rough when he spoke. $1. The laughter came hard and loud. The auctioneer hesitated, then slammed the gavel. Sold. As Thorn turned to leave, an old drunk grabbed his coat. His breath smelled of fear. "You should not go up there alone," the man whispered. "The cabin is not empty. She is still waiting." Thorn pulled free. He did not believe in ghosts. He mounted his horse and rode out of town. The trail up the mountain was barely a road, just a scar carved into stone. The higher he climbed, the quieter the world became. Wind replaced voices. Snow replaced mud. Trees twisted like broken hands reaching for the sky. After hours of hard riding, the trail leveled out. The cabin sat on the edge of a cliff, bent and gray. One shutter slammed in the wind like a beating heart. "Perfect," Thorn muttered. He tied his horse and pushed the door open. Darkness waited inside. The smell hit him first. Sickness, rot, damp wool. Human. His hand went to his gun. He lit his lantern. In the far corner, something moved. A pile of filthy blankets shook. A woman emerged, starved, hollow-eyed. Her lips were blue from cold. She held a rusted knife with shaking hands. "You finally came," she whispered. Thorn did not lower his gun at first. He studied her. She was not a threat. She was barely alive. Slowly, he holstered the weapon and tossed food onto the floor between them. "Eat." She dropped the knife and devoured the food like a dying animal. Her name was Isabel. The cabin had belonged to her father. He died in debt. A man named Vane wanted the land and her with it. She ran and hid, trusting a promise her father once made. "A man of the mountain will come. He will hold the line." Before Thorn could answer, the storm came. Wind screamed. The roof cracked. Wood groaned under the weight of snow. Together they braced the beam and saved the cabin. For 3 days, the storm trapped them inside. Firelight replaced fear. Silence softened. They shared stories and warmth. When the storm broke, Thorn went hunting. He found tracks in the snow, horseshoes, city steel. Vane's men were close. Thorn ran back to the cabin, heart pounding. The past had followed him. They had little time, no escape. This time, Thorn did not run. This time, he chose to stand. The cabin changed the moment Thorn said they would stay and fight. It stopped being a hiding place and became a line drawn in the snow. Isabel felt it too. Fear did not leave her, but it hardened into something sharper, something useful. They worked without wasting words. Thorn dragged the heavy table and jammed it against the door until the legs scraped deep grooves in the floor. He knocked out the clay between the front logs, carving narrow gaps just wide enough for a rifle barrel. Isabel tore old cloth into long strips and stacked them by the fire. She crushed glass into the windowsill and smeared bear grease along the frame. Neither of them asked if the other was ready. They already were. The first shots came just after noon. 4 riders came out of the tree line like they owned the mountain. Long coats, clean horses, men who thought fear was something other people felt. The lead man shouted, telling Thorn to send out the girl and keep the cabin. Thorn answered with a rifle crack that split the air. The bullet tore the hat off the lead rider's head. Snow exploded behind him. The men scattered fast, diving for rocks and trees. Gunfire answered back. Bullets slammed into the cabin walls. Wood splintered. Smoke filled the room. Thorn fired steady and calm, working the lever like it was part of his arm. He was not shooting to kill. He was teaching them a lesson. Isabel reloaded the revolver beside him, hand shaking but sure. A bullet slipped through a weak spot and cut into Thorn's shoulder. Pain burned white hot. He stumbled but stayed on his feet. He kept shooting until the men pulled back. Silence followed. Heavy. Waiting. Night came slow and cold. The cabin smelled of smoke and blood. Isabel cleaned the wound with boiling water and stitched it closed. Thorn did not look away. He watched her face instead. Calm, focused, strong. They did not sleep much. One watched while the other rested. When dawn came, it brought worse news. Baron Vane arrived. He rode a white horse like the mountain belonged to him. Fur-lined coat, silk scarf, clean boots in deep snow. 6 men followed him, spreading out with purpose. Vane did not shout. He did not bargain. "Burn it," he said. Torches flew, fire caught fast. Old wood burned like dry grass. Heat rolled into the cabin. Smoke choked the air. Isabel covered her mouth with cloth as flames climbed the walls. They were trapped. Thorn grabbed his rifle. Isabel grabbed the tin box hidden under the floor. Inside were papers her father had kept. Proof truth. Everything Vane had stolen. The roof cracked. Fire roared. "Now!" Thorn shouted. He kicked the door open. Smoke poured out like a living thing. They ran through it together. Shots rang out wild and blind. Thorn fired from the hip, dropping 1 man. Another fell screaming with a shattered leg. Vane tried to flee. His horse reared. Thorn tackled him into the snow. He wanted to kill him. Every memory of the war screamed for it. Isabel's voice stopped him. "Don't. He is not worth your soul." Thorn let go. He tied Vane's hands and shoved his face into the snow. The hired men ran. Cowards always do when the leader falls. The cabin burned to ash behind them. Winter did not break easily, but when it did, the mountain breathed again. Snow melted. Streams sang. Green pushed through stone. They rebuilt. Not a patch job, a real home. Strong logs. A solid roof. A future carved by hand. Isabel planted flowers in the dirt. Bluebells. Indian paintbrush. Thorn watched from the porch, the mountain quiet around them. They rode to town once. The sheriff read the papers from the tin box. Faces went pale. Vane's power vanished in a day. He was taken away in chains. His land seized, his name ruined. Back on the ridge, Thorn folded the old deed in his hand. $1. He looked at the cabin, at the garden, at Isabel smiling in the sun. He thought he bought silence. He bought a life. Spring did not arrive all at once on Holloway Ridge. It came in pieces. A thinner frost each morning, a longer stretch of light in the evening, the sound of water moving under ice. Thorn noticed these things the way a man notices a heartbeat after nearly losing it. The new cabin stood firm against the sky. Fresh logs still smelled of sap. The roof no longer groaned in the wind. Smoke from the chimney rose straight and calm, no longer torn away by storms. It was not a rich man's house, but it was honest. It was strong. It belonged. Isabel moved through it like she had always been there. She swept the floor. She cooked over the hearth. She sang softly when she thought Thorn was out of earshot. Simple songs her mother once sang before the world turned hard. Each sound filled a place inside him he had kept empty for years. They worked side by side. Thorn cut timber and hunted. Isabel planted and repaired and planned. They did not rush anything. The mountain had taught them patience. Each day was earned. The flowers were the first real sign of change. Bluebells pushed through the dirt near the porch. Indian paintbrush followed, bright and stubborn. Isabel knelt in the soil, hands dark with earth, smiling like she had won a quiet victory. "You were right," Thorne said, watching her. "Things can grow up here." She looked up at him, eyes clear. They just need someone willing to stay. Word traveled faster than snowmelt. Men in Iron Creek talked, not laughing now, whispering. The mountain man who burned Vane's power to the ground. The woman who survived the ridge. Some said the cabin was cursed. Others said it was protected. Thorne did not care. One afternoon, riders appeared on the lower trail. Not Vane's men, not trouble, just townsfolk. The sheriff came first, hat in his hands. Behind him were 2 miners and a woman with a child wrapped tight against her chest. "We came to say thank you," the sheriff said. "Vane's grip is gone. Men are being paid what they're owed. Things are changing." Thorne nodded but said little. He had never trusted towns. Isabel poured coffee anyway. She always did that. She believed kindness was a form of strength. The visitors left quietly. Respect replaced fear. Summer came full and warm. The ridge turned green. Game returned. The creek ran clear. At night, Thorne and Isabel sat on the porch watching stars spill across the sky. No words were needed. Silence no longer hurt him. It rested easy. One evening, Isabel brought out the tin box. The papers inside were neat now, dry and safe. She set it between them. "My father would have liked you," she said. Thorne looked out at the dark hills. "I wish I could have met him." She studied his face, the lines carved by war, by years of carrying weight alone. "You are not the man you were when you rode up here." He nodded. "I was trying to disappear. And now I am trying to stay." She reached for his hand. This time he did not hesitate. They were married on the ridge before the first snow returned. No church, no crowd, just the wind in the mountains and 2 simple rings traded under a wide open sky. The sheriff came. So did the old drunk from the auction. He smiled like a man who finally felt right about something. "Told you she was waiting," he said. Thorne smiled back. Winter returned, but it did not bring fear with it. The cabin held, the fire burned. Laughter lived in the walls now. When storms came, they faced them together. Years passed. The garden grew larger. A barn followed, then fences. Life took root the way Isabel always believed it would. People stopped calling Thorne a mountain man. They called him a husband, a neighbor, a man who held the line when it mattered. Sometimes, late at night, Thorne took out the old deed. The paper was fragile, smoke-stained, still marked with the price, $1. He folded it carefully and put it away. They said he bought a ruin. He bought a future. He bought a family. And on that wild ridge, where silence once felt like death, a home stood strong against the sky.